aviation security budget, already around £9 million. We're actually putting more money towards this Make Aviation Safer, not just here in the UK, but around the world.
I don't know that money by itself is the answer, but certainly the increased level of scrutiny and concern will have an effect in the short term, which will be beneficial to aviation safety. What I'm concerned about is that in the longer term, we really need to be looking more at a system such as the one that Israel deploys, where they're basically doing psychological profiling of people, which is something that we object to philosophically in the West, but which has guaranteed them basically safe airline travel for a number of years now.
Do you think what has happened in Paris, and indeed with the downing of the jet, and of course all the other recent atrocities, that we're now seeing a game-changing situation where we are going to see a worldwide effort to combat this threat from ISIL?
I think we would be remiss not to be looking in those terms.
But it had to happen in Europe, though, didn't it, first? Why did we have to wait until it got to that?
Why doesn't Beirut count? Why
Exactly.
don't massacres in Kenya count? Quite frankly, the closer things are to home, the more we pay attention to them. And Paris is someplace that many of us know and love. And to see it violated in the sense that it was last Friday night has made a deep impression on people, very obviously, even though the atrocities in Beirut were as bad, if not worse.
Will we now, well, of course we'll see France willing to work with Russia and vice versa. Will we now see pressure being put on the UK and the US to start working with Russia as well?
It is the only solution. Cooperation of the modern day great powers, if you will, of the EU, of NATO, of the US, of the Russian Federation, of the Asian powers and economic powers for that matter. There needs to be cooperation on a global basis against acts of this kind.
But Ted, relations are at an all-time low with Russia.
This may be the lever we need to start to work toward closer, better relations on a practical case-by-case basis.
So good could come out of evil when we're looking at global relations, for example, between Russia and the West.
We can only hope.
But what about, though, the idea that Assad should be going, from the UK and the US's point of view? Russia has a very different view on that.
Then we need to sit down and talk, but that's what we ought to have been doing all along. The rhetoric has been preventing real communication. Real diplomacy has suffered to, the effects of real sound bites, which seem to be substituting these days for deep diplomacy, and that's a shame.
Putin seems to have taken the lead against ISIL and Syria. Have the UK and US been left behind here?
Well, you'll recall after September 11th, 2001, the first foreign leader to contact President George W. Bush was Vladimir Putin. He offered his solidarity, his sympathies, and he said he was willing to stand shoulder to shoulder with the United States. That has since been lost, and it's something that we need to work on regaining, that sense of standing together against this sort of crisis.
But just finally, bombing from Russia, from perhaps maybe the UK eventually, from France now, and other countries. Is bombing the answer, the solution to this, just finally?
Militarily, there are centers, there are nodes, there are concentrations, and those can be attacked by bombs. Philosophically, ISIL is something else again, beyond just military centers, and that also needs to be addressed. But in the short term, I don't have any problem at all taking out military concentrations of the Islamic State.
Ted Seay, thank you very much indeed for joining us. Good to talk to you.
Thank you.